Special thanks to Alive Soap.
Girl, listen. Can you feel Obanyo fe? We got this. Can you feel Obanyo fe?
In 1994, in the heart of Africa, a nation was shattered with unspeakable violence. Rwanda was plunged into chaos. For about 100 days, Rwanda endured a tragedy that left scars that remain till this day. Neighbor turned against neighbor, as about 800,000 Rwandans, mostly Tutsi, were killed. Amidst the chaos, many women were left with unimaginable horror, many of them carrying new life. On this episode of We Got This Africa, we hear the powerful story of Yumoringa Yacinta, who was pregnant during the genocide. Her voice carries the weight of survival and the quiet strength of motherhood in the face of unspeakable loss.
Hello, Mami. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Can you please tell us a bit about yourself?
My name is Umuninga Yasant. I am 56 years old. I was married in 1993 in September. My husband was killed in April 1994. He left me 7 months pregnant. I gave birth to Herbert in June of 1994.
I'm very sorry about that. Do you remember that day? Can you tell us about it?
My husband was taken by military government soldiers in the morning of at 9 a.m. with another man. He never came back. The men whom they were together came back alone and lamented on how my husband was tortured before being killed. After knowing that my husband was killed, I cried a lot while hiding in the house under the bed for 15 days. Thereafter, my neighbor came, picked me, and hid me the whole of April. Thereafter, soldiers of Inhotanyi came and took us to the stadium.
You were taken to the stadium after 1 month, but then the killing continued for 2 more months. How were you surviving while seeking shelter at the stadium? Were you getting help because you were 7 months pregnant? Were you getting help? Were you getting care? And where were you sleeping? And how did you manage while at the stadium?
Their survival was tough because I was alone and weak, and I could cry all the time. Soldiers asked me to be taken in a safer place, Byumba. Still, life wasn't easy there because I was alone, and I ended up falling sick of cholera. I gave in June, though I don't know the date exactly because of war confusion. After delivery, I had no clothes to cover up the baby. I was using the same saucepan to cook and washing my baby. After the war was over, we were given transport to Kigali by UNAMIR. Upon arrival, the other neighbor since she had a Hutu husband, is the one who sheltered me for some days. In September, I got my brother-in-law. He was a soldier of Inhotanyi. He started assisting us, me and my child, at least to get some food.
How was raising Hubert by yourself without his father? Do you think that losing his father affected him in any way, even though he was not in the world at the time this happened? And I spoke to another mother who said that there's transgenerational transfer of the pain from the genocide. Do you think that Hubert has been affected by it too?
I got a job at Unamir at that time and managed to raise my kid. Even he had no father, but I was determined to fill that gap so that he shouldn't get affected. As he got older, he started asking me about the siblings and eventually adopted the dog to be filled in the gap of the sister because other kids had sisters at school. He developed trauma while in primary 5 until being treated at Indira Hospital. I developed the same trauma years later. I visited King's Faisal Hospital several times until the doctors got me a cancer. Thank God I no longer had the same trauma like before.
Well done. Well done. I don't know how many people can do what you have done. And thank you for talking to us.
We also meet Valentine, a 29-year-old man whose life was shaped by the courage of his mother, as he reflects on her journey during and after the genocide.
Nice to meet you.
We are reminded of the silent heroes who held families together even when everything was falling apart.
Hi, Hubert.
Hi,
Thank you for inviting us into your very beautiful home.
my pleasure.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Jean-Hubert. Actually, it's a French name.
Jean-Hubert.
Yeah, Hubert is just like a translation. Yeah. Jean-Hubert Molaysia and those that's to Kinyarwanda, better. Yeah, and now I am married. I have one beautiful daughter. She's just 9.
Yeah.
And of course my wife as well. And I'm a business person. I'm running a tech startup in Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You were born in 1994. Was this before or after the genocide?
It was during.
During.
Yeah, during, because I was born in June, and according to records, it is recorded that the genocide ended in July.
What does your mother tell you about that time when she had you?
Actually, like when I was growing up, even there was no need to tell me about what happened first. I could see some consequences like of the genocide on her. But
Like what?
for example, when I was like 8 to 10 years, like every April, in the month of April, she was like crying, screaming, like the memories could come now and then.
Screaming.
Yeah, screaming like if it was like in the real event. Like crying, for example, you see someone, she's sleeping and she's crying. You see him loudly be like, oh, don't kill him. Maybe like those.
Don't kill me.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So like it comes to her in like a dream.
Yeah, in a dream, kind of dream. Yeah, actually, it's like traumatized by the event. So you see, like in the month of April here, we always like have 1 week where we commemorate. So in that period, it always brings those memories, and like to be able to handle it and like keep it like stay strong, it was very, very hard. Yeah, so when I was growing up, she can tell me, I could ask where is dad, things like those, and tell me a little bit, but of course I could see the consequences, yeah, on my own. Yeah.
And what does she tell you about your father?
Even up today, there are some news stories be like, hey, do you know you have something similar to your father? Like every time there's news stories, but surprisingly, also my dad died. Actually, my dad died in April, on the very first day of the genocide, on 7th April, and I was born in June. So he didn't saw me, and I didn't saw him as well, right? And so they got married like 1 year before. So even for them, they didn't have really like
A long time together.
Yes.
You've been married for just a year too.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, actually, it's like now. Now that's when I can sense. I would say
Understand.
because I can imagine like if my daughter was about to be born, I could see like she's 2 months to get born, and I die. You see like how you could feel.
What exactly happened to him?
No one knows. Even up to this day, we don't know exactly where he's buried or where he's lost is. No one knows.
How do you know that he's dead?
Actually, that's a very good question because who knows, maybe, but I can't guess because there's no way he could be out of the country in that period where I could be passing. So it would be even strange to not think that he's. I mean, if he's still alive, that could be so strange. Yeah, but I don't think so. It is just because it is not our case is not the only one. There are so many other people who don't know where other relatives who get lost during the genocide. Yeah.
Was your mother with him when he was taken?
She was under the bed hiding with her womb like 2 months to give birth.
She was about 7 months pregnant.
Pregnant, and she was just under the bed hiding.
How did it start? So your father was taken on day 1. What was the reason he was taken?
Very strange. So it is because he was so called the Tutsi, right? And for us, when we are learning history, Tutsi and what is not tribes in Rwanda, it was just class. Be like, if you were a farmer, you were and doing agriculture stuff, you were like a Hutu. And if you were like having cattle, cows, and whatsoever, you were a bit rich and you were Tutsi. And then when the colonials come, that's when they're like, how can we divide these people, right? According to those classes, and how can we divide these people and just so that we can rule over them, right? So that's the origin of the story. Be like, if you have a nose like mine, you are Tutsi.
What's your nose like?
Mine is long, you see.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit like long whatsoever, right? And then started like to tell those on the other, those maybe like who doesn't have like a nose, might be like, you see those guys, they have been ruling over you. They have, you see, like a bit by bit. That those kind of things started back in 1940s, right? And it grew until 1959, 63. Things started to be an intention, right? So for me, I am not even angry or bad about my neighbors. It is not that. That's not the root of the cause. And what I always think about is like, even today, maybe it cannot repeat as in the same way, but if we are not careful as well, someone just externally can come and have the impact.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And that was the last time your mother ever saw him?
Yes, that was the last time. And I mean, now as I'm a parent, I could feel her. I mean, when I was young, I was like, no. Okay, sometimes I could like, oh, I don't have that. She doesn't have husband. But now I am a parent, I could feel.
You feel her pain?
Yeah, her pain. And she's really strong, by the way. And the way she raised me, like, she's very courageous. Very, very. Like, I remember sometimes she could made me sit and be like, hey, I don't want you to look like someone who was raised by a single woman, you see? Like, you have to have a good stature, you have to be a man, right? You have to, like, stand as a man, you see? So she could tell me those kind of words every time. And now, that's why I have a family at the age of 29, and
you're doing very well for yourself.
Absolutely. I'm grateful. And I didn't like spend my teenagehood. I was spending learning a lot of things. Even I'm still doing the same today. You see, yeah, I'm really grateful for her, and she's really courageous. Yeah.
Do you have friends, cousins who had a similar story like yours?
Absolutely. For example, where I grew up, like at 2 houses of our neighbors, it was like the same story. One son, and one mother as well, and of the same story. And there was
same.
Yeah, and even in with my relatives, I have cousins or other people like who have the same stories. Like mine is not.
It's not uncommon.
No. It is. There are so many. But by the way, at least for me, I even still have a number. You see, there are some kids who are the same. I mean, they're no longer kids, but there are some young people who are the same age as mine, and for them, they lost both parents, so they had to grow up. Even there are some stories like they grew up on themselves, like from the age of 2, 3, 5, like hustling. Can you imagine? Yeah, so they even up to me, there are some stories I hear. I'm like, this is too much, right? Yeah. But of course, each story is unique by its.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
How does this story affect your sense of identity and who you are? Like growing up, did you feel any, or did your mother feel any form of hate towards the people who did this, who are your, who are Rwandan too?
Absolutely, that's the very first reaction. That's why for me, I actually took time to go and learn basically what happened in the very first place, because if I would be angry for my neighbors who did so without really learning the root of the cause, it will not be meaningful. So for me, after like knowing that this is really, it was not an issue until when some people outside camp and made it an issue, and I was like, no, I should forgive, right? I should forgive, and even up to this day, I don't live like he's from here and there. We are friends because you bring value to my life and I bring value to you, but it is not because you have these laws, you are coming from here. And by the way, Rwanda is shifting really very fast. Like for now, back in those times, like the government, it was from one part, but today it is mixed. It is mixed. It's not about like where you're coming from. It is, do you really have what it takes? That's all. And for me, I feel like very safe and very happy.
Happy to hear that.
No, really. Yeah, really.
When you look at your life and your trajectory, from where you came from and where you are, do you think that not having your father in your life has had an effect on you? Do you sometimes think how things would have been if he was here?
Absolutely. I think fathers bring some kind of comfort and some kind of like this, I would say, leadership within the family, right? So you always have like a focal point of some, you see? It's like they are like models, if I can call it, if I'm right. So I was lucky because it was like my mother she tried to be like
To mother and
one.
father.
Yes, and the more I grew up, I realized. So when I realized. So I was like, of course, I will not spend my time thinking about why I don't have that. So I should learn on my own. By the way, when I was growing up, I also saw many kids like getting in drugs because of I don't even care about life. Why should be? You see? And for me, I feel really bad about it because they are becoming victims. They accepted to be victims of the history and the history which they didn't choose. So for me, the reason why I always I have to be successful, I have to be strong, is because I can't be defined by my history. No. So, the whole story for me, every time I see those things, and I remember, it was not because we people, Rwandan people, we had issues. Because just was someone who was able to identify a gap and weaknesses in people and come and see something and ended up being like this huge thing which is now like being learned at school, teaching me like the impact someone can have over you. That's why for my family, I have to make sure like the picture I'm giving my daughter is the perfect picture, or it's the perfect vision. Because in one way or another, the way I behave, it can ruin her life. Yeah.
That's true.
It's
Good parenting advice.
So true.
What would you say to your mother about how she has been able to, in spite of all the difficult, horrible things that happened to her?
So what I could say is I'm simply grateful. When I was growing up, she could made me sit down, we pray, we read the Bible. So she also helped me to grow up very, not only by good stature on the society, but also on the faith side. And has saved me so much. So simply what I would say is I'm very sure she's proud of me and I'm proud of us. But so I there is nothing I can give her to prove how much I'm grateful for her. There is nothing. I even tried to think about it, but like whatsoever I think, I was like, no, this can't express. The only thing I feel is like the more I try to succeed in life, the more I try to be a man, she'll be very happy about it. So, but one message to her to be like, she's my hero. The more I grew up, I could say her, she's my hero. I'm very proud.
Last question.
Yeah.
Using your mother as an example, and all the women that you watched growing up, what would you say the role of Rwandan women has been in the rebuilding of Rwanda after the genocide?
It has been huge, very huge. Very huge because my mother she's not alone, but there are some mothers who have deep, sad stories. So they are like, they are doing business, they are living, they are into leadership positions. So it's like, I think they always pick the courage from the history of what happened. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for talking to me. And to put it all in perspective, renowned filmmaker Eric Kabera shares his insights on how women, mothers, daughters, survivors became the backbone of Rwanda's recovery, rebuilding a country from the ashes of the genocide with resilience and hope.
When Rwanda came out of the genocide, we are talking about a very, very fragile country, a country and a society that was really broken in and out. And many of the survivors were women, because most men were killed. And you also have another group of women whose husbands took part in the genocide. So you had two groups. So that in itself became the true mirror to look at Rwanda's process of rebuilding, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. And women really took the whole brunt of an entire society for the pain, the lack of resources. So women literally had to be there and cater for the actual consequences of all the evil that took place in the country. And for me, wherever I'll go on the film in the hills of women building homes or cultivating the land or looking after kids who are orphans. So my lens had focused on that for many years. So The Woman in Me is one of my other films that I've made on the same subject. Because as you know, Rwanda has got the highest number of women parliamentarians in the world. If you look at countries such as Sweden and other Scandinavian countries, Rwandan women had literally surpassed the threshold level of actually women representation in law mechanism chambers. The Rwandan woman had always kept a center role within the society, and it's not like the feminism as we know it today. These were like strong women who would not speak up like we see women speaking up today, but these are women who are like holding and managing the home's affairs and the society and sometimes the kings and princes. So I got to be introduced into that particular understanding of that sphere of women emancipation program, but that is drawn from the culture. So I made 2 documentaries, and the 2 documentaries were literally designed to showcase the progress that has been taken and the policy, and to be shared within the African continent and outside of Rwanda, how the progress has been achieved. I think without the Rwandan women getting involved into the Rwanda's reconstruction process, Rwanda wouldn't be where it is today. And we're very lucky because President Kagame took really the initiative and the political stand to solidly empower women. Not to say that they were not empowered before, but he made it part and parcel of the government agenda and the policy, and that has helped. We've seen it. You see, before you wouldn't find women working on construction sites. I mean, I'll build here, and then some of the bricks were being laid by women, which was a taboo before. Doing things that were otherwise the prerogative of men. And just breaking those kind of taboos, that helped. And then on the other hand, I'm not saying that it's all glittery and paradise, that everything is cool and great. We still have some challenges whereby men feel like they have lost a little bit of their patriarchal kind of sort of stand, because those are the kind of things that were not there. We're not expecting to find, let's say, a woman police, a head of police, or a woman head of a bank, or a woman minister, a woman chief of staff. So those are the kind of things within the framework of the African culture. At one time, it was a bit shocking, and but Rwanda is now the norm. Various female CEOs, ministers, and women tend to be less corrupt. Let's say it, because they always jokes. They say you put a guy in a position of power. I'm not saying that all men are corrupt, but the tendency is that they will have wealth, and then they will have all the other facilities to entertain their needs from across the board. From a cinematic or filmmaker's perspective, writers or thinker, if I may include myself in that category, I think I'm looking forward for more education for men and women alike, so that these empowerment and these programs that does not actually bring more conflict, because we've seen a wide range of misunderstanding when it comes to feminism and women's rights and men's rights, and boy child. I think there's even a campaign whereby boys seem to be less favored in the homes, because there is a huge campaign of educating girls, and therefore sometimes forgetting the boys in the house. And so ideally for me, I just want to learn from the situation, be it locally, on the continent, and internationally. So there's a dynamic shift going on, and people need to be very careful and be responsible in observing and learning. So I'm not saying the fact that I made the documentary film, I fully understand the dynamics of women's role or women empowerment or the men's responsibility. So I'll humble myself to say that I'm learning. I'm on that course, and I'll love to be humble enough to learn from those who have mastered the theme. Because at the end of the day, our voices are still relevant. We're still part of that planet Earth that needs to be sharing stories.
This is more than a story about tragedy. It's a story about strength, about women, about motherhood, and about the rebirth of Rwanda.
Step one.
Step one.
Okay, step one. Step one.
Girl, listen. We got this.
Special thanks to our live soap,
We Got This Africa is an April Communications production.